we will start out as we have all week, where I will give a brief little presentation on how to keep the faith in college. Been taking about 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll hand it over to you, Lee, and then Lee Wishing here will introduce all of you to the quite beautiful Grove City College. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So thank you for joining us. Welcome all of you who are here, and Grove City College especially. Um, the For those of you who are here live, thank you for being here, and hopefully you'll be able to hang on till the end to ask some questions. Again, I'll start for 15, 20 minutes. Lee will speak for as long as he needs on Grove City College, and then we'll go until about 5:30 Eastern time with your questions, or however long the questions last. Um, the For those of you who are watching the recording, of course, as always, just stay on till the end, and hopefully your questions were questions that got asked. And thank you for joining us or for watching the recording later. Okay, so all week we've been talking about keeping the faith. I've given a kind of a different presentation, kind of broken out the presentation over these 5 parts. So on day 1, we talked about the habits, kind of habits that we can cultivate to help us keep our faith in college. On day 2, we talked about our community and the importance of getting the right kinds of friends and mentors, attending church. Yesterday, we talked about how to learn from what I call the bad guys, especially those authors that are the most frustrating to us, those authors who tend to oppose most vehemently, I guess, the values of Christianity or family and things like that. And then today we're going to talk about I'm using a phrase that I'm borrowing from David Hicks' book, Norms and Nobility. I want to talk about the necessity of dogma and the role that it plays in helping us to keep the faith. So yesterday I suggested that if you are trying to learn from the bad guys, that one of the ways that you need to approach that is to follow the so-called advice of Aristotle, although it's not actually a quotation from Aristotle, but the so-called advice of Aristotle, which is to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it, and that the role that we have when we're reading somebody like Marx or Nietzsche or one of the bad guys, Sartre or somebody, is to read them in order to understand them, and kind of withhold judgment about whether they're right or wrong until we've made sure that we understand them. So we're entertaining the idea in that sense. Once we know that we've understood them, then we can start thinking about whether we agree or not, whether they're right or not. But really, in that attempt to understand, we're trying to read them and kind of identify what is the issue, what is the problem that they're facing, that they're diagnosing, and what is the solution, and understanding it in that sense. So today, the follow-up to that is this idea of, well, how do you entertain a thought without accepting it, or how do you understand something without then concluding that you must agree with them? If you understand them and it makes sense, as it were, then have I just slipped into agreement with them? And so how do we do this on entertaining without accepting, or understanding without agreeing? And I think this is the place where the necessity of dogma, this is the role, the job that the necessity of dogma fills for us. So one mistake that we can make is we try to enter into the study of something with an unbiased, as it were, pretending that we're unbiased or that we're neutral, and we're just trying to learn about this thing in an unbiased and neutral way. The on the one hand, that's a silly proposition because well, I mean, honestly, it's not really possible. It's kind of impossible to be completely neutral and unbiased. We don't even know all the ways in which we are unbiased or which we are biased, in which way in which we have a leaning towards something. But the other problem is that when we enter into or we take up the study of something in this so-called unbiased or neutral way, we're not really learning anything about it except except maybe information, maybe some some quotations or lines from it that we can then pretend that we understand it because we've used this passage from it to explain something or to act like we know it. And the other problem is that when we approach something from this so-called unbiased or neutral perspective, what ends up happening is that the truth then that could come from it, or the truth that we could discover, either from within it or it draws our attention. Something false being said in the text perhaps draws our attention to some truth, the actual truth. That truth that we then acquire from the study of it can make no demand on us because we're unbiased and detached from it. And the problem is that the truth should be able to make demands on us. The truth does make demands on us. We ought to live our lives or change the way we're living our lives once we come to know the truth. But when we examine something, even something true, from a completely unbiased or neutral perspective, or an attempted unbiased or neutral perspective, we prevent the truth from being able to make demands on us. There's a very interesting story in Hick's book, Norms and Nobility, where a teacher wants to teach his students about virtue. And so he asks his class of students to read Plato's dialogue, the Meno, which is about virtue. And so he asks them to read the dialogue and to outline the argument that is made through the course of the dialogue. And they approach the dialogue in this very kind of analytical way of just identifying neutrally, right? They're not asking any questions about what virtue is. They're just looking to see what the text says so that they can report on it. So there's the assignment itself causes them unintentionally, but from the teacher's perspective, but what it ends up happening is it causes them to approach the text in a kind of unbiased or neutral way through this analytical approach of I'm just going to outline the argument. And then he finds afterwards, after that they've done the assignment, when he tries to have a discussion with them about the text and about virtue, the students don't care. They can report to him the structure of the argument and the building up of the argument, but they just don't care about virtue or Plato's perspective, virtue, Socrates' perspective of virtue, or anything like that. So then the next time he assigns it, I can't tell from the story as Hicks explains it whether it's the same students or not. So it might be a new group of students, it might be the same group of students, but this time he asks them to go talk to their family and ask your parents, what is virtue and can it be taught? Because those are the two questions that get addressed in the dialogue. Go ask your parents, what is virtue? Go ask your parents whether it can be taught. And the kids came back and they all had a dogma that they're inheriting for the sake of the conversation from their family, from their parents. And so they have some statement of belief about what virtue is, some statement of belief about whether it can be taught. In some cases, the parents were like, I don't know, I never thought of that. I never thought about that. But they all had some sort of dogma that they are now leaning into. Now, when they're reading the dialogue and discussing the dialogue, they're able to think through Socrates and Meno's responses, because they have categories for the thought, right? That they're not initially comparing it to what their parents said and deciding whether Socrates is right or wrong based on whether Socrates agrees with their parents or not. but they have those thoughts in their mind, right, as they're reading this and thinking about it. And so it helps them to think about the kinds of questions that Socrates is asking, why his argument unfolds the way that it does, why his argument is structured the way that it, or his dialogue is structured the way that it is, and they're able to enter into it in a way that makes them more engaged with the idea itself, and yet they're not necessarily agreeing or disagreeing with Socrates yet. They want to understand Socrates because they have their own understanding that it's now going to be engaged with soon. And so by having this dogma that they come to it with, but holding on to it is kind of like, this is what I believe. Now let's see what this guy believes. It makes it possible for them to willingly entertain the idea, but not necessarily accept it or understand it without necessarily agreeing with it. Now, Hicks argues, and I think what these students actually encounter is the possibility of dialectic. So when they were simply just trying to approach it analytically, neutrally, unbiased, there was nothing to engage with dialectically. They weren't interested. They had no attachment, no loyalty, no interest in the argument, and therefore no questions to ask about it. But once they had their dogma and now they had a source from which to approach the dialectic, to ask hard questions about it, to really try to understand the text, really try to understand the argument. And so Hicks is making the argument that if you want to engage in the dialectic, that's not really possible unless you have your dogma and then this thing that you're interacting with. So the dogma then makes the dialectic possible with the thing that you're trying to understand. And if you don't approach it in that way, what you end up having is an engagement with the artifact, the book, the text, the argument that is either it's completely disinterested and nothing, no demand is made on you at all by it, or you're simply debating it, and it's from dialectic. It's from the dialectical process that we learn from a debate in this sense. The debate, I got to be careful how I say this because I don't want to make it sound like I don't think you can learn from a debate. Surely people who debate learn things. They learn all kinds of things, not just about the content of the stuff that they're debating, but through the process of debating. But there's a win or lose thing that can happen that can get in the way. And if you approach Nietzsche as if I'm not here to understand Nietzsche, I'm here to destroy Nietzsche, I'm here to defeat Nietzsche, right? Then that's what I'm calling the debate approach rather than a dialectical approach. So not to be confused with debate activities. The approach here then is that if we can enter into the text with our own dogma, it allows us to entertain the arguments of the text without accepting them, which then creates the possibility for the dialectic. And the results of the dialectic is that I end up learning about both things. I learn to understand what Nietzsche is saying, and I learn to understand better what it is I believe, what my dogma is. I come to understand my own dogma better. And I discover, third, I guess, I learn about that text, I learn about my dogma. And third, I discover truth through this dialectical engagement. I discover truth in a way that it itself can now make demands on my life. And that's a good thing, right? It can make demands on how I'm going to live going forward. I understand what virtue is now. And so now I can strive to be more virtuous. I understand what courage is. I can strive to be more courageous. I understand what honesty is. I can strive to be more honest, or whatever it is, right? Whatever that truth is. So yeah, necessity of dogma. There's a whole chapter on it in Norms and Nobility. If you have access to that book, maybe read the chapter. But know that any text that you're going into has an argument, really, that the philosopher is making, especially if you're talking about the kind of text you're reading in a great books program. those texts, those authors, those philosophers are making an argument. So what it is, find out what it is that you believe about that. Talk about that. Then go in and read the text. Not to argue the two immediately, save that, but to understand this one so that then there's a dialectic can happen after that. So um, there you go. The necessity of dogma and the role that it plays in helping us to keep the faith in college. All right. That was nice, brief. Okay, 15 minutes. All right, Lee Wishing, thank you for joining us and being here with us today to share with us about the beautiful Grove City College.
Professor, thank you very much. I love CiRCE. I love what you guys are doing. I think it's just one of the most deeply thoughtful Christian education organizations out there. And I think it's just such a blessing for you students to be part of CiRCE. So let me just say that I've been a CiRCE fan for a long time. I think what I want to do today with the time I have is kind of set the table for you. I want to tell you about Grove City College, but I also want to set the table for you, importantly, to help you think about the world you're about to go into, the world of higher education, and what you're dealing with. And I've been involved with this college professionally for 30 years, and prior to that, I was a student here for 4 years. So I was here from 1979 to 1983. I'm sure that sounds like the dark ages to a lot of you, but it technically is in the modern era. But anyway, 11 years I was out, and I had a job in finance, and I worked for Merrill Lynch as a stockbroker, and I left Merrill and put together a group of investors that go out and buy companies and sell them. And then I did that and for a number of years, and then Grove City called me out of the blue to come back to work here, and I really felt like I was being called by God to come here, and I've been here for 30 years. So I think you students, first of all, you're very blessed, as I said, to have the foundation that you're getting from CiRCE. Please understand how blessed you are and how well prepared you are to go out into higher ed, because it's a troubling environment right now. It doesn't need to be if you make good choices. Doesn't need to be if you make good choices. So what do I mean by this? So the first time I did a CiRCE program like this, I was on with Andrew Kern. And Andrew Kern talked about 3 reasons, and maybe you've already covered this, Professor, I don't know, but 3 reasons why students go to college in America today. And primarily what people, when they think about going to college, he said there's 3 reasons people choose a college. And he said the first is for pragmatic reasons or personal power, namely, he said, to get a job. I'm going to go to school to get a job, and I want to make money, so I'm going to go to school to get a job. He said, secondly, for patriotic reasons. I want to foster community power. I want to do something about the direction of America. And then thirdly, and now that's a big deal right now. I haven't seen the college environment is ramped up over this issue ever as I've seen it over the last couple of years. And it's an important issue. I don't want to discount it, but it's really important. So number 1, to get a job. Number 2, patriotic reasons and to foster community power and to do something about the direction of your nation. And 3, Andrew Kern said, for transcendent reasons. And like Professor Bianco is saying, is to seek virtue and wisdom, and particularly at a Christian college, the transformation of your soul by a Christian wisdom. And he said, this is really interesting, and it's true. I've thought about this for a long time. And you can particularly see it now in this environment. And this is why I'm taking some of my time away from promoting Grove City to help you understand this from a guy who's been around for a while, that personal power or a job and societal influence to be patriotic and whatever to help make America better are not sustainable without the third reason, the transcendent reason to seek virtue and wisdom. And then really interestingly, and this is where it comes down to you folks being very wise and making a choice. He says, if you go for the third version, the third one, the highest one, you get number 2 and number 1 thrown in. So seek a transcendent education, seek wisdom and virtue. And guess what? You get a great job that's going to pay you well, and you're going to have influence in your society. And importantly, it's going to be sustainable. And I heard Matthew, I think last year, talk about joy. And this is a very joyful thing to do, because when you're seeking God's truth, who's the source of wisdom and virtue and all knowledge, as Christ is, as we know from Colossians 1, 16 and 17. Christ is creator, source of all knowledge. And if you seek truth in him, it's very joyful. And you go to a place like Grove City College, it's a joyful place because we seek Christian wisdom, and specifically the 3 Christian virtues, faith, hope, and love. And I think that I know those are Holy Spirit turbocharged. And when you do that, that provides for a joyful environment in which to study. So make a good choice, reach high, and go for the transcendent education. I want to show you, if I can, just a little diagram here. And I think this is what, kind of this is the other thing for you young folks right now. I think America has for the most part, completely lost an understanding of what the purpose is of higher education. Completely lost it. It's either to get a good job, or it's to transform the nation politically, either from the left or the right. Now, societal influence is very important, as I'm going to show you, but that's not it. You got to think like CiRCE thinks. How's this for a little slogan? Think like CiRCE. Think like Andrew. What would Andrew do? He's going to seek, Andrew Kern that is, he's going to seek for transcendent education. So historically, going back to the time, here's what I think is kind of a virtue pyramid for higher ed. And historically, if you look at the bottom part of this pyramid, these were the virtues that, like Plato and Aristotle, were interested in. Plato particularly founds the academy. He saw 3 levels there in the black of what you go for. The first level of education was for vocational preparation. Notice that that's the lowest level. And to the right there, my fingers aren't covering it. What was the virtue they wanted to inculcate in that level? Temperance. So it was virtue education. The next level, for the best students in that group, they said, hey, we're going to take this group onto the next level for military training, and the virtue we want to instill in them is courage. And then the best students in that group, they said, let's move them on, and we want them to be our societal leaders or philosopher kings. And what we want here is wisdom. And then if you had a society that was educated virtuously for temperance, courage, and wisdom, and you had people acting temperately, courageously, and wisely, that would produce the 4th cardinal virtue of justice. And then over on this side of so these are like individual outcomes. And why did we do this? Why did the Greeks want to do this? To have a just society, a just society. And notice I slipped in here the pursuit of happiness. You see this in the Declaration of Independence today, that we are endowed by our Creator with the unalienable rights to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Essentially, is my understanding, that is, it's the pursuit of virtue, a virtuous life, a good life, defined by the virtues. So that was the Greeks. The Christians come along and they say, you know what? There's an even higher order, like Andrew Kern would say, a transcendent order. And these this order is defined by the three Christian virtues of faith, hope, and love. And the outcome is Christian wisdom. And the real benefit to that kind of education is this great joy, because you're pursuing the truths of God and essentially his mind, and you're conforming yourself to Christ. And that's a very joyful thing. And then the outcome there in the green then is really not only just societal influence, but kingdom dominion. Kingdom dominion. Now, guess what? This is an idea that's been lost, except for places like at CiRCE and just a few colleges, I think, left in America. So I'm setting the table for you that you guys have a big choice in front of you. And I will encourage you to reach, as Andrew Kern said, reach for the highest things. Reach for the highest things. All right. So let me, I'm going to do my sales pitch for Grove City. I want to share the screen if I can, Matthew. And if this doesn't work, we'll try something different. Can you guys see my screen? Oh, wait, not yet. You can't.
Yes.
You can see it now. Okay. Let me see if this is even going to work. Let's see. Maybe it's not going to work. Wait. Are you still? It's black. Are you seeing that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is our mission statement. I'm not going to read our mission statement, but this is the mission statement from the perspective of the student, not the perspective of the college. So what we say, and that always happens to me. Let's see if I can get this back. We empower motivated students like you, and I know CiRCE students fit the bill there. Empower motivated students. You got to be motivated to come to Grove City. It's not an easy place, but it's a joyful place, and we're going to challenge you to pursue the truth. We empower motivated students like you to pursue truth, notice the capital T, God's truth, without fear of reprisal. You're not going to go somewhere, you're not going to come here and have, at so many places, remember that virtue triangle I showed you? What's going on in America today? Colleges are stripping out the virtues and replacing them with progressive values. Progressive values. They're stripping that out, and they want you to buy these values rather than to pursue God's truth freely. So that's not going to happen here. You're going to pursue truth without fear of reprisal. In other words, someone's saying like, no, you got to buy this kind of liberal line to get a good grade. So we empower motivated students like you to pursue truth without fear of reprisal in the classroom. Grow in deep-rooted community, deep-rooted in what? Scriptural truths, and confidently follow your calling to glorify God and help others flourish. That's Grove City. Now, if you look in the background, that's an aerial view of just a part of this stunningly beautiful campus. This is one of the most beautiful campuses in the country. It was laid out by the Olmsted brothers, who designed Yale, Harvard Business School, Notre Dame, Stanford, Johns Hopkins. It's what's called an Olmsted campus, and it's spectacular. And why did Grove City College do this? Well, they thought that beauty is important to God, and they wanted whenever you walk around this campus, you can't help but feel God, see this artifact of the campus and beauty of what's important to God. And so there's a lot of joy just in studying in the environment here. So I want to encourage you to come and visit. All right. Now we say really quickly, we pursue truth freely at Grove City. We grow in deep-rooted Christian community, and we learn to serve others confidently. All right. And so we have a humanities core here, and you're going to love this. We found the classically educated students love our humanities core, and you're going to read books like, of course, the Bible, Abolition of Man, Confessions, St. Augustine's Confessions, Trial and Death of Socrates, On the Incarnation by St. Athanasius, Discourse on the Method for Conducting One's Reason Well by Descartes, The Divine Conspiracy, On the Human Condition by Basil. That's just a tiny, tiny sampling of the kinds of things you're going to read at Grove City. And probably you've been exposed to all of those or many of those at CiRCE. What I'm trying to say is we're going to build on what you've done at CiRCE. We're not going to tear it down. You don't have fear of reprisal here. We're going to affirm what you've learned, and you're going to be really, really well prepared to come to Grove City or a place like Grove City. And these are the 5 courses that make up our humanities core. We're working on even enhancing it right now. So by the time you would come here, it's going to be even better. And we've had a core curriculum here going back to the early 1970s. So we've been doing this for a long time. If you want to have a job like Professor Bianco, you might want to think about our classical Christian education minor. You can minor in classical studies. You can minor in classical Christian education. We send lots of students out into the classical world, classical Christian world, to educate. Down in the lower left, you can't really see this. There's a link to courses for classical minds, and we've got, I think, well over 60 or something here at Grove City College. So you can't get bored. If you love the classical world, you could spend the whole time here doing that. You wouldn't end up with well, you could have a major in that area, but yeah. And of course, the other thing that we do here, we have other majors. So Grove City is kind of like this really interesting place with this humanities core that's going to resonate with you right away as CiRCE students. But if you want to be an engineer, or you want to go into the biomedical sciences, or you want to go into poli-sci or computer science, we have Grove City. It has we have one of the best STEM programs in the country for Christian colleges. We have one of the best English programs in the country for Christian colleges. By the way, English is a playground for the left. So be really careful. When you major in subjects like that, there's a good chance you're not going to get professors like Professor Bianco. There are colleges that will have people like him. I don't want to disparage everybody, but there's a small group, and I want you to make a good choice. So I'm trying to set the stage here for you. What's the average class size? About 20 students. We have a rich arts program here at Grove City for those of you who are interested in theater, dance, music, the visual arts, very rich here. What about our faculty? We say 97% have terminal degrees. That doesn't mean they're about to die. It means they've gone as far as they can with their education, and they've got doctorates, in other words, or degrees like doctorates. And they've been educated at places like Cambridge, Princeton, Michigan, Virginia, Vanderbilt, Carnegie Mellon, which is one of the best technical schools in the country, and MIT. But we've got a tremendous faculty here, and they're all believers, and they all try to base the foundation of their coursework is alignment with and rooted in the scriptures. So they're true Christian scholars at Grove City, and lots of them. Athletics, we've got a rich athletic program, 24 varsity sports. And it's interesting, the Greeks, again, when you think about the virtues, they wanted to train temperance and courage into their athletes. And Grove City College is not like at Grove City, there's an athletic program and there's an academic program. It's all part of our sports programs are all, they say we play for an audience of one, meaning Christ, and they try to teach virtue in all of the sports programs. So it's an integrated whole at Grove City, and sports here really is a way of teaching the virtues. What about at the back end of your time here at Grove City? Employers at Grove City love Grove City grads. When employers come here to hire our grads, And what they know is they have students that come in here with a great set of values and a work ethic. And at Grove City, we affirm that those family values. We affirm that we're going to challenge you, and we're going to build on that. And employers know when you leave here, you're not going to leave that all on the graduation stage, and you go out into the work world. And believe it or not, yes, in this crazy weird world, employers love people. They love Christians because they show up on time. They're honest. They're humble. They're worth more than they get paid. Yes, in a free market world, you've got to generate value, and Grove City College students do. Since our students are heavily recruited at Grove City, and we've got one of the best career services departments in the country that's very countercultural. We say, don't come here and go after the job you think pays the most. We say, we begin in your freshman year helping you, if you don't understand yet, how God has wired you. What are the gifts and talent? We know you're made in the image of God. He's given you gifts, talents, and abilities that are unique to you, and we want to help you align them with a vocation that fits your calling that God has prepared you for. And it works really well. It's really countercultural. Our students do really well financially. They do really well career-wise. They do really well in grad school. So this whole thing that I'm coming back to Andrew Kern, he said, you pursue a wisdom education, yeah, you get societal influence and you get a job thrown in as a bonus. And that's true. We've seen it time and again at Grove City. There's some of our placements. 95% employed or in the grad school their choice within 6 months. And we know that to be true because we hear from 99% of our graduates. We know where they are. You'll see a lot of statistics with high numbers. A lot of times it's not employed within 6 months, it's within a year or 18 months. And then their survey samples made up typically maybe average of 65%. In other words, that number here could be inflated by quite a bit. But Grove City, those are rock solid. We've actually had accounting firms audit our data on job placement. Okay, that's the end of my Grove City pitch. Now, I want to give you something of value. Colleges cost money, and I want you to, and it can be scary. It can be scary for your parents, and I just want you to understand how this world of higher ed works. Let me tell you, first of all, and this might be jarring, it's fake. The prices that you see are all fake. It's a marketing scheme. So you're going to see giant prices at a lot of colleges. $50,000, $75,000 a year. University of Chicago, $100,000 a year. Why do they do that? First of all, I don't want you to panic. And again, this is kind of preparing you for the world that you go into. The prices are fake. It's a marketing trick. There's 3 reasons why they do it. 1, to create a perception of value. Wow, that school is really expensive. It must be really good. It's really expensive. It's really good. 2nd, so they can give you a big scholarship. The break-even cost at most colleges is anywhere from $30,000 to $34,000 generally. So if you're like at a college that's charging $50,000 a year or $65,000, let's just say $60,000, and the break-even is 30. Why do they do that? Again, perception of value. Man, that's a really good school. Well, and then what they can do is they can give everybody a scholarship for $30,000. And how much does it cost them? Nothing. And it creates the perception that, wow, this place is really good. And they really want me. They're not being honest with you. Because that is not a scholarship. What it's called in the world of higher ed is an unfunded discount. In other words, the college isn't putting any money into that $30,000 scholarship. It costs them nothing. They're kind of tricking you. It's a marketing scheme. Now, what's really going on with the benefit of the college, besides the marketing pitch, that works really well with students is they can use that gap. So let's say that's the break-even point, $30,000, and they give you can give a scholarship like this, $30,000. Everybody gets $30,000. But that's not what happens. They don't give everybody $30,000. What they'll tell you is 100% of the students at University XYZ gets a scholarship. And you might get an email right from the beginning and says, Matthew, you're a really great student, and you just get an email out of the blue, and we're going to give you a $30,000 scholarship. And you're thinking, wow, and it's going to get your attention just like that. Or they might say, we're going to give you a $20,000 scholarship. What if they do that? So they're lowering it down here, but the real price is 30. They want to average out 30 so they don't go in the red. In other words, they don't lose money. But what about that kid that's paying 40? And by the way, that kid is usually the B student, probably not the CiRCE student. And what are they going to do with that 10,000 that student overpaid by? And probably is borrowing the money. And that student's thinking, I'm going to borrow the money because that's a really good school. It costs 60,000. They really want me. They're going to give me 20. What do they do with that? They take that $10,000 gap and they flip it under the table and they give it to some other student. And so that student, rather than getting a $30,000 scholarship to get down to break even, they get some other kid's 10, that other kid overpaid by 10, and they flip it to that kid. And that kid only pays $20,000. So they use this program to get parents and students to pay for the scholarship program. Now, I know I'm going fast, but maybe, if this is posted and you are interested in this, you can go back and replay it. But I want to help you avoid, first of all, the first thing is I don't want you to get caught up in, wow, that school is really expensive and boy, they really want me. What you want to be thinking about is, what do they teach there? Are they teaching the kinds of things that CiRCE's teaching? Are they teaching this? That's what counts. The transcendent education, and how good is that transcendent? Don't get fooled by this stuff. Don't get fooled by it. I'm encouraging you, don't get fooled by it. So how can you not get fooled? Well, you don't want, basically it means you don't want to overpay. And if you get a better scholarship than others, you want to make sure that what they're doing is this. And you got to ask yourself, is it worth it to get something even bigger, but I'm not getting that transcendent education? That's where the bind is going to really come in for you guys. And I'm going to help you get out of that bind in the next part. Okay, so how do you not do this? How do you not get caught in it? First of all, you got to know what the average price is for each college you're looking at or university. So write this down. Write this down as a big tip for you. You want to go to a website, Google College Navigator. College Navigator. And in there, you can find out the net price for just about the net real price for every college in the country. Not many people know this. The specific web address is, get ready to write. I'll try to go slowly. N is in Nancy, CES .ed.gov. NCES.ed.gov, G-O-V, / College Navigator. Okay, and you're going to do three things when you get there. First of all, there's a little search box, and you're going to put in the name of the school that you're looking at. And then a bunch of information is going to show up, and you want to click on the tuition box, and you want to see what they say that the cost of tuition is. That's what we call in my world the sticker price. That's the $60,000 fake price. And then there's a little box underneath there. You want to click on net price. Net price. And then you go like, oh, that's the real price. That's the average. That's the real price. Oh, that's the real price. Okay. So then you get the real price. Okay. And Grove City College's real price, we charge the break-even price for $34,000 all in. And that includes a computer and all the software you're going to need for 4 years. And by the way, and we don't have all kinds of add-on fees. There's tons of add-on fees that colleges charge. I don't know, we maybe have like maybe a parking fee that's $100 a year or something. It's really small. We have fees that are really small. Okay, so anyway, you can go there to College Navigator and find the net price of every college in the country, and just about every college in the country. And so you won't be fooled when you go and look at a college. And now, there may be a college that is only going to charge you $15,000. There's going to, you guys are probably going to be, and by the way, I want to encourage you to take the CLT. My good friend Jeremy Tate, the founder of CLT, I want to pitch his test. Take it. If you're having trouble paying for college, take the CLT. We found at Grove City College, now Grove City College attracts some really good students, but what we find is that generally the kids that come here, we get a lot of classically educated students. They do a little bit better on the CLT than they do on the SAT generally. You can convert the CLT to an ACT or an SAT score, and the average we often see is a little bit higher than the CLT. So take that test, because at a lot of schools, the scholarships are they'll base on board score. We don't really do much of that at all. We look at students holistically. But take that test. Now, if you go to a school and they say, look at your CLT test, and they say, I want that kid, that's $15,000. I'm telling you, unfunded discounting is going on. And your antennae got to go up, and you say, what is that college teaching? How much is it going to really cost me for the rest of my life to go there and not get what Andrew Kern said, to get a transcendent education? That may be what the trade-off you're looking at. Now, let's say you want to come to Grove City or some other school that provides a transcendent education, but it costs a little bit more. How do you get out of that? How do you do it if your family is strapped? Okay, there's something called, get ready, I want you to write this down now. Write this down. Google Grove City College outside scholarships. Now, look, I want you all to come to Grove City, but I'm helping you go to college even if you don't go to Grove City. I'm giving you some free tips here. Go to Google Grove City College outside scholarships, and we're going to teach you how you get scholarships outside of the institutions you're looking at. So Grove City provides scholarships. We had a girl come in our freshman class that won north of $50,000 in scholarships, and we only cost $34,000. So I want you to follow what that thing says. How to do this, how to go. There are lots of people that want to give their money away to students like you who want to go to college. And a lot of people don't even know that this is out there. Or they might think, oh, I know that's out there, but I'll never get anything. Yes, you will. I want to encourage you. You're better students than the average. And people are going to be interested in you. And I want to give you a number to think about. Apply for 20 of these things. Apply for 20 of them. It's going to be worth it. The big thing is it takes time to do the research. But I'm giving you a heads up. You seniors in high school, at the senior level, these scholarship opportunities start opening around October 1st and they close around February 1st. So you've got time to do your research and on these scholarships. And there's lots of them out there. And a lot of places can't even give away all the money they have. One place you can do is Google. Here's another thing you can do. Google community foundations near me. Community foundations near me. And by the way, on the outside scholarships page, we teach all this there, so you don't necessarily have to write that down. But there are organizations called community foundations, and what they do is and maybe Professor Bianco is like independently wealthy. He's outrageously wealthy, and he wants to give his money away. I know you are, and he wants to, because you're making a lot of money doing this work, and he wants to give away millions of dollars, but he's so busy because he loves students, he doesn't have time to give his money away. So he goes to an organization and says, hey, I want to give money away to students who have been educated at CiRCE, and their Sunday school teachers and their camp counselors. Those are my criteria. Give it away for me. Make sure it goes to the right place. They do that at community foundations. They manage the money financially and they give it away. And the community foundation in our region, they're all over the country. In our region, they have 200 college scholarships that they're trying to give away every year. They can't give them away. People don't think it's worth the time. It's worth the time. So outside fund, there's a lot of money out there in outside scholarships. So if you start now and you pursue a transcendent education and you know what it costs, and if it costs a little bit more than you can afford, community foundations, I'm telling you, can close the gap. Not just community foundations, but outside scholarships can close the gap for you. Get out in front of this and start working on it. That's all I have, Professor.
That was great. That was really great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love the recap of Andrew's thing from 3 years ago, I think it was. But just all that advice, like I'm like writing stuff down about the college. I think you mentioned it last year too, but this year I was like, I'm writing this down this time because of course you also told me to, so I did.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, how much did I pay for my kids' college?
I know.
What's the actual cost?
Well, that's the other thing, Professor. What happens is a lot of times that big scholarship, let's say the $20,000 scholarship, but if you take 20, you're actually overpaying by 10. What they do is they'll just send it out to you right away when you get accepted, and they're going to package it with the 20. And you don't, this is another important point. Thanks for saying that. It reminded me of something else. There's scholarships are what they call merit scholarships or need-based scholarships. Grove City reserves the bulk of its aid for students who don't have enough money to go to college. And a lot of people, when colleges get these quick scholarships out there, the unfunded ones that don't cost them anything, what people don't realize is if you apply for need-based aid, there's money there the colleges will give to you. I've talked to a lot of parents who didn't know that because they got tricked by the quick reception of the scholarship, and they'll say to me, "Where's my package?" And I mean, I'd say, "What do you mean, where's your package?" "Oh, when I get my acceptance letter, they put the scholarship in right away." Well, it doesn't cost anything. Of course they can do that. And people lose sight of, that's not only merit aid, but there's need-based aid. So thank you, Professor, for bringing that up. Make sure you think about merit aid and need-based aid. Merit aid and need-based aid. And finally, the other piece of that puzzle is outside scholarships.
Yeah. So good. Very good. Okay, well, thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
Yes, you can receive both. That's true. Let's see. Looking at the chat here. Thanks for your tips. You're welcome. Trying to choose a discipline. At Grove City, we do this with our admissions counselors. They're really good at it. And so I'd encourage you. So the question is, can you provide guidance to a high school student who is trying to choose a major or a discipline for a major? I'd recommend that if you can't make it to Grove City for a visit, schedule an interview and they will help you. They'll help you with that. Let's see. I assume you can receive, what is the religious makeup of your students and your teachers? All of our professors are Christians. We're not narrowly denominational. Grove City was founded in 1876 as what they called back in the 1800s an undenominational school, but at the core of it was founded by Presbyterian scholars. But you had faculty of a number of different Christian faith backgrounds. We're so very upfront about who we are at Grove City College in terms of our student body. I'd say nearly all of our students are Christians. Not all of them. I would say probably 90% are Christian believers. but not all of them. And we don't make a student profess faith, but they do have to agree to abide by our Christian values. And we do look for sincerity in that. We require an essay. We read the essays very carefully. We look at recommendation letters because we want to craft a virtuous student body, and that's really from day one. For your engineering degree, is it specific? Great. I encourage you to go to our website. We have the gold standard in accreditation for engineering. It's called ABET, and you can get mechanical engineering here, which is really kind of foundational for lots of engineering jobs. Electrical engineering, computer engineering. We also have a really interesting degree called applied science and engineering. That's a really interesting degree. It's kind of a little bit, if you're interested in like medical engineering, if you're interested in engineering to kind of like run industrial programs at businesses, you can look at that. I would also, for engineering students, I also want you to think about physics, because a lot of places hire students who are interested in physics. And if you're kind of a creative type, but you're also interested in engineering, you might, if you got that little creative spark in you, you might want to think about physics. Did I answer all the questions? I think I did. Okay.
You guys have a chapel on campus too, right?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. We've got a really wonderful, really great chapel program here. You saw the chapel in the picture at the front. It's a neo-Gothic chapel, and you guys, I'm sure you've studied Gothic architecture. It's stunning here at Grove City. Grove City was rated one of the top 14 places in the world to see stained glass in that chapel. So stunning. But we have a really robust chapel program. Wednesdays, it's called Worship Wednesday. It's kind of like a traditional church service with hymn singing and worship music as well. Thursday night, then I'm going to jump to Friday. Friday, we have what we call Formation Friday. And you can pick, there are things we call fivers. And professors around campus lead just 5-week book studies. So you can be part of a book study for 5 weeks and a book that you discuss from a Christian perspective with faculty. You can also choose, if you don't want to do that, you can choose kind of a more traditional service on Friday. Thursday night is really rich. It's called Warriors for Christ, and it's about an hour and a half of just student-led praise worship with really, really good student musicians. It's really quite moving. And then on frequently during the year, we have what we call the Faith for Life series, and there'll be like a Christian life lecture on really interesting topics on Wednesday night. So, yeah, and we require that you attend chapel 12 times a semester, so we require that. But we've worked really hard to make it so interesting that you want to go, not just to fill a requirement, because we don't want you to go just because it's some transactional thing that you're doing. We want it to be transformational.
There's services there on Sundays. Do most of the students go there, or are there churches in the community they go to?
Yeah, we don't have a service on Sunday because we want to encourage students to be very active in local churches, and we have really good churches here in Grove City, and a lot of them will send a bus to you, or you can walk to many of them in town, or hitch a ride with students who are already attending there, and ride out there with them.
Nice.
Yeah. Other than engineering, what would you say are the top nationally recognized degree programs at the school? Certainly comp sci, English, classical Christian education minor. And you guys probably understand this, that there's really two tracks to go into the world of education. You can do kind of through a traditional education degree program that prepares students for the public school world, or you can major in a rich content subject like, let's say you want to be physics, but you want to teach physics at a classical Christian school. Well, study physics and do a classical Christian education minor. Most classical schools don't want you to go through a traditional education program. And so we cannot fulfill the demand for students who have our classical Christian education minor. There are just so many job opportunities out there. So that is definitely nationally recognized. Accounting is big. They say English is big. Political science is big. Many of the leading think tanks in the country are led by or have leaders at the very top of their organizations who are Grove City grads. So if you have Grove City on your resume, let's say you're like my daughter, who was a political science major with minors in sociology and economics, everybody wanted her. All the top organizations wanted her. And you have Grove City on your resume, and that's like the equivalent of Harvard or Yale in the think tank world for people who share our worldview. And by the way, we have a think tank here if you're interested in that second level that Andrew Curran talked about, which is important. The state of our nation. If you're interested in that, we encourage you to go there, but we don't want you to just think about that. We want you to think about pursuing Christian wisdom, and you'll be really prepared for that world. So I don't want to disparage that second reason, but I want you to think higher, like Professor Andrew Kern says. Go for that, reach for the highest, and you'll do well in the political and the think tank world. And we've got. I could go on and on and on about where our alumni are in those worlds at state capitals and at the national capital in D.C. Let's see, what other than engineering, what was that? What would you say are the top nationally recognized degree programs in the school that employers rush in to recruit? Good question about teaching style. At the upper level classes, it's going to be more Socratic. Probably the lower level classes, it's probably going to be maybe more lecture. But there will be our professors love to engage students even in those lecture classes. But the higher you get, the more Socratic it's going to be.
Would that depend too, probably on the
content,
the kind of class it is too? Like
by the content for sure.
Literature class might be different than a math class or something, right?
That's right. Yep. Yeah. Well, you guys are great. Really good questions. All good salesmen, they have to ask for the sale, right? So I'd love to have you all apply to Grove City. GCC.edu. Go to GCC.edu. We have two kinds of, you can apply early decision. If you take a look at Grove City and say, boy, that's the place I really, really want to go to, apply early decision. And you say, if they accept me, I'm going there. Then you want to apply early decision, because it's kind of like a commitment. Like if you apply early and we accept you early, you're telling us we're coming. I'm coming. And then we have our regular decision deadline. You can look at that. Also, here's another important date. So November 1st, that's our early decision 1 deadline. December 1st is our early decision 2 deadline. Regular decision is January 20th. And then regular decision 2, if you're interested in Grove City and then you decide, oh, I don't like them all that much, and then later on you do all that search and you thought, oh yeah, that transcendent thing, I want to do that, and you forgot, you can apply as late, you can March 20th. But Need-based financial aid, don't forget this. Our need-based financial aid application opens up October 1st. And by the way, we do not, I didn't say this, we do not accept any federal money. Like Hillsdale, we don't accept any federal money. It was actually the Grove City College court case that went through. Grove City College was the one that led the way on that, and we dropped out of all federal funding. And one of the big advantages at a place like Grove City or Hillsdale, when it comes to need-based aid, we don't participate in the federal program. We're not messed up with all this FAFSA nuttiness that's going on. FAFSA is not even opening up to December 1st, and last year they delayed the deadline and delayed it into the spring. It was chaos. So if you apply to Grove City, we're going to get you a decision. We're not going to mess around with you. So that's just another reason to apply to Grove City. Any aid you get from Grove City, it's really our money. We're not, we're not playing this raise the price and fake price and mess around here. But when we give money, it's our money. We take money out of our account and put it in yours. Here at Grove City, we credit it to your bill. And there's no messing around. All right. Would love to have you all apply. gcc.edu. gcc.edu.
I was up there a couple years ago, I guess now, and there was a conference being held there, an academic conference that was being held there, and it was the first time I'd been on your campus. Other than that, I just seen the pictures, and it's just as stunning when you're just walking around that campus.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful. And then I met up with Dr. Mayo.
Jeff Mayo, yeah, English department chair, who actually taught at what was it? The big school in Dallas. Anyway, Classical Christian School. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I met up with him, and we had lunch there at the dining facility, and it was beautiful. Good food, and I guess Pennsylvania puts the French fries with everything. So
yeah, that's one of our delicacies. Is there a Catholic community? Yeah. There is. Really good question. We have one of the best Newman clubs in the country. I'd say, in Presbyterian world, we say the split peas, and we've got a lot of kids coming out of non-denominational churches, a lot of that. But the Catholic body is about 8% of the student body, so a significant number of Catholics here. We have a Newman Club here that's very vibrant. We had a Newman Club at one point that was rated the #1 Newman Club in the country. There's a very vibrant Roman Catholic Church nearby. It's called Beloved Disciple. We actually have in our Religious Activities Center, which is behind that beautiful neo-Gothic chapel, an office in that building for the local Roman Catholic priests. So if you don't want to have to go the mile or so off campus to see a priest during the week, you can just meet the priest there during his office hours. And Beloved Disciple actually sends a van to the college to pick up students. Any off-campus trips and internships? Oh, tons of that, tons of it. We have a very vibrant study abroad program here. We've got a global studies program here. You can go all over the world. And a lot of students do. About, I think, nearly half of the students have some sort of global experience before they graduate. Any kind of internships? Tons. Our career services office actually has somebody whose job is to help students, teach them how to get internships. And so we do have a 4-year program that we lead students through in career services. And so after that first year where we're helping students understand their calling, then we want you to kind of take that for a test drive, and we want you to go get an internship. So most students, all of my kids had internships. I had 4 kids that went through here. All of them had multiple internships before they graduated. My one daughter worked at a Christian ministry in the national parks at Yellowstone, and then she worked at the Reagan Ranch, and I mentioned the think tank world. That's owned by the Young Americas Foundation, and the Reagan Ranch is actually run by a Grove City grad, Andrew Coffin. And then she interned at D.C. at an old line conservative magazine called The American Spectator. And but anyway, so yeah, she had 3. I think all my kids had at least 2, if not 3, internships. So we really encourage you to get an internship, to take your calling for a test drive, and those can be really valuable because, like with my daughter, she ended up doing 3 internships. She had all kinds of job offers in her area. She said, I don't want to do any of it. And the nice thing was that she didn't waste 10 years out on the job figuring out, I don't like that. She figured it out during her internship process. Do you have another college coming on here,
I don't think so.
Matthew? No? Okay, I just don't want to take somebody else's time. Any off-campus? So yeah, lots of off-campus trips. We have what do we have? It's we do have a global outreach program, and there's lots of trips where students go on mission trips. They're actually organized and run by the students, but advised by professionals at the college. So we want you to lead them, but we help you make sure that that you're doing things well, so that it's set up well, so that you're safe and all that kind of thing. But about 10% of our student body will spend their Easter break somewhere around the world doing some sort of missions work that's often student organized and led. Yeah. Elizabeth Crowley, hello, my friend from Texas. I saw your email today. I didn't have a chance to read it yet. I did want to follow up with you, Elizabeth, to see how your visit was. And I noticed that you guys weren't able to get the extra meal passes I left for you. I feel really bad about that, but we'll connect about that. What else we got? Hard question. What is this is a really good question. What is the college's stance on the Israel-Palestine riots? Well, we don't have an official college stance on it. I'll tell you what, you're not going to see riots here on our campus, though. No, if that's what you mean, we're absolutely against that kind of thing. Remember when I held this up? So ultimately, when you're learning the virtues, so the bottom one there, temperance, that's certainly intemperate, isn't it? The riots, certainly intemperate. And so we want you to learn the virtues so you're to become independently virtuous. But why? So you can have a just society. And while you're here for 4 years, we want you to model the kind of society that ultimately, a kingdom kind of society that you're going to live in. Oh, yes, that is what I meant. Okay. Yeah, we want you to come here and pursue Christian wisdom. And riots just aren't in there. Do you see riots on that list anywhere? Anyway, I'm just being facetious. That's a really good and really important question. Grove City is like a beautiful, thank you. It's a beautiful campus, as Professor Bianco said, where you can come here. They have 4 years of, peaceful but rigorous study. Yeah. Great. I don't see any other questions. So.
Yeah, I mean, we can. You have till 5:30.
Oh, I had till 5:30.
You have till 5:30. So if the questions all get answered and you want to hop off early, that's fine. Or if you want to stay on and see if, just in case any more questions pop up.
Elizabeth, I see you on there. I'm going to cheat. What, Elizabeth, from a prospective student's perspective, what would you recommend that students know about Grove City? If you're willing to put it in the chat. Let's see if she responds. Maybe she won't. Okay. Oh, there she is. We just stepped away. Oh. Okay, Elizabeth, I just I know this probably isn't fair, but I was just, hey, Rich, I wanted you to say, put in here for the others that are on, from your perspective, Elizabeth, as a prospective student, what would you want your CiRCE friends to know about Grove City? You can type it in the chat. We've got a great mascot, Willie the Wolverine. Elizabeth might be Willie the Wolverine someday. For Dad, we got a great economics program. They help you learn to trade.
Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a lot of things. First of all, from what I've learned, it sounds like the academics are very challenging. And since the school is non-denominational, there are going to be a lot of different perspectives on doctrinal issues. And looking at whatever you're studying from a Christian perspective is going to be, it's going to, you're going to think about it differently than another student would. Say you're, I don't know, a Baptist and they're Anglican, and you just have different viewpoints on doctrines, but you're all learning the same things and you're all part of the same faith. So you have points of commonality, but you also have diversity in how you think, and that'll just, it sounds like it's really going to challenge your faith, and in a good way, and really just stretch you and grow you and confirm what you believe, and maybe you'll be persuaded a different way. So that's what I would say to that. Also, Willie is great.
You guys
Yeah,
stayed for the
so
football game, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
That was a wipeout. We won 41-0. Grove City in football is ranked in 2 Division III polls, number 10 in the country right now. Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth, for jumping on there. Is Dad there? Can I ask Dad to give his view?
Yeah. Good.
What's the question?
What do you think students should know about Grove City based on your knowledge of the college?
I think the couple of really compelling things about Grove City to us were, Mr. Wishing, I'm sure that you talked about the federal funding independence. That is interesting and important to us, especially the way that things have been trending lately around the country. I think it's important that you guys have the that freedom from government meddling that could potentially become an issue. We also just love the community and the way that Grove City feels. When we visit, we've been up there 3 times, I guess, in the past 2 or 3 years. And the students are kind, they're polite, and they're motivated. They're excited about being there. It's just a really special place to be. When we got our tour, I remember a couple things that stood out. One was the young man who gave us our tour couldn't stop talking about how much the professors went out of their way to spend time with students. So no teacher assistants or TAs leading classes, but the professors took an individual interest in each of the students, and that was really interesting and important to us. And then we were talking about the study abroad program, and the kids said there are a lot of opportunities for students to go study abroad, but nobody wants to do that because nobody wanted to leave Grove City for an extended period of time because their friendships and relationships were too important to them. So that was always a tough a tough struggle for students to decide whether to pursue amazing opportunities overseas or to stay at Grove City for a semester and spend their time with their friends. So those were a couple things that stood out to us that were important.
Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
One of the greatest days and one of the saddest days of my life took place on the same day, the day I graduated from Grove City, and the day I pulled off campus was the same day. My roommate was. I was so sad. I was like in tears because I left this like incredible community pulling off a campus, and my roommate was literally chasing our car off of campus, running down the campus road. My mom and dad are driving, and I'm sitting in the back seat teary, and they're going, "Hey, Ross wants to see you." And I said, "Just keep going. I can't bear it." I was so sad leaving here because the community and the friendships are so tight. And I've talked to him every month for 40 years now. We don't miss. We got lifelong relationships. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. Yeah, appreciate that. All right. Well, I guess I can yield my time back to you. You guys can all get out of class 8 minutes early.
All right. Well, thank you for being on here, for Lee, for coming on and talking about Grove City and everything else you shared. I mean, just yeah, it was good advice for these young folks. And then for those of you who are able to join us live, thank you for being here and asking some good questions, even a hard question that you kindly prefaced as a hard question. That was nice. And then for those who get to watch it later as a recording, hope you enjoy it. And then please, I've been there. It's good. It's a beautiful campus. If you can get up there for a visit, go. If not, well, at least get on the website and read more about the school and contact them to get some more information, because it's definitely a beautiful place and some good folks there, really good folks, as you just heard. So yeah, thank you everyone. Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it.
God bless y'all. Bye-bye.